Hi, I'm Patrice Weder and this is a walkthrough for my second sample library I'm releasing with Spitfire Audio in conjunction with my album The Pool Project, out now via Essay Recordings. So as the name suggests, part of the album was recorded in a swimming pool, in a covered swimming pool, and the sound in this pool house is just absolutely stunning, and I've recorded some intimate voices and intimate woodwinds in there and sounds something like this. So to explain you the GUI or the plugin here, this one has two controllers here, so expression and dynamics, and the expression is the overall volume of the sample, and this one, the dynamic fader, fades from the close mic to the room mic. So I've recorded the vocals, which is 3 vocalists, and in this case it's a solo vocalist. I'll explain you in a bit more detail just shortly, but it fades from the close mics, like it's a close ribbon mic, to kind of room condenser mic, which was right above me where I was conducting, so on the other side of the swimming pool. And then we have here this dial, which addresses different effects. We have reverb, delay, attack, release, distortion. Depending on the patch, you have certain other effects as well. So you can also control the velocity. So it's velocity sensitive. If you hit it harder, you get a louder sample. If you hit it softly, you get a much more quiet sample. And then of course you can play with the expression here. So it's a really responsive library. And so what is in there? It's really an extension of the album. If you listen to the album, it doesn't feature half as many sounds as they are on here. So it was quite interesting creating it. I recorded the album and did a sample session pretty much separately. So we have a vocal trio, as said, different types. I'm going to take you through it. Gentle Breeze is a combination of bass clarinet and alto flutes. I just love those two instruments together, played with really airy kind of articulations. Then the solo voice, and this is an interesting one. This is my good friend and very talented musician, Juan Espiga, and he helped me engineering the session. And the day before we started with the vocal trio, he came over, we set up the microphones, we checked where would it sound good, what kind of microphones, etc. And we tested some articulations. And as he started doing that, we were both, wow, this is just amazing. And he did this really fragile thing where the voice almost breaks, and you can hear that with these oohs here. And it's really kind of almost disappearing, the sound, and I really love that fragility. And we then just went through the whole articulation list that I had in mind to do, and in the end, it's actually become my favorite patch. Pianos, of course, it's the Petrov, which you can see behind me. It's one patch is a double felt piano, and the other one is a taped piano. I'll play this all for you in a second. Then I have some toys here. The bass clarinet player brought with him a few bits and bobs that we've recorded, and they are quite an interesting addition to the sample library. Then percussion, of course, again, I sampled some of my drum machines. And again, Juan is not only a fantastic singer, but also a percussion player. So he brought his toys with him, and we recorded things such as jawbone or some shakers and some other organic loops. Very interesting up here. I've recorded some IRs going via my chorus echo up there, the timeline, and with some effects mixed in the box, and I created different reverbs and kind of slapback settings for you guys to use. So you can change here, let's say big tail, you can address a little bit less or more reverb as you wish. So you can see this kind of a little bit concept of the album that have an intimate sound, but then a really, really long tail, and I've achieved that while or through sending reverbs to other reverbs or sending delays through reverbs, which then had an echo on it. So I'm creating this really 3D and really long, deep sound. You can hear it much better in the piano, and I'll show it to you just in a second. Then I've added some synth loops just for fun, really, because the electronics play a small part on my album. But the way I'm using the electronics is I'm setting up an arpeggio on my Juno 6. I have a modified Juno 6, so I can program the arpeggios. Then I'm sending it through a chorus echo, and halfway through the track, I'm fading up that signal, and then it also goes through a timeline delay, so it delays that echo further and is further reverb on there, and then I'm fading in that one towards the end of the track. So it's just a slow kind of evolution of this arpeggio, and we translated this really well together with the Spitfire team with this dynamic slider here. So you have I'm just going to demonstrate it to you. So we have the simple arpeggio going into the first stage and second stage. And I think it works really well if you just have it underneath a chord progression. For example, let's just set something up here. So put that right into time there on the grid. And then let's use, for example, these airy swells on the woods. And if we just turn this down a little bit, and then, for example, we add some na-na swells in there, we can just copy this. Elongate these a little bit. Then we can add, for example, the Caval flute experimental longs. And so on. It's very an inspiring kind of toolkit, and I'm getting a little bit carried away here already. So, but to show you the patches one by one here, I'm going to start with a vocal trio R drone here. So again, very effective there, switching between the close and the room mic. And then you can add a feature such as the distortion, and it adds a little bit of a granular and synthetic kind of texture here. And you can try that one out for the woodwinds as well, and it just sounds really, really cool and gives a different kind of perspective on the whole library. So the R swells, they're just kind of recorded swells, and they're, I believe, really useful to, layer perhaps behind some strings, etc. meditation trio chant. Some humming here. And again, you can really achieve this very intimate and close sound, which I believe is incredibly useful because you have just 3 voices and you can really hear the quality of each singer's voice. And with a solo voice, it's even more intimate, obviously, because it's just one single voice. I believe it gives such a human touch to your composition. Some swells here in the humming format. One of my favorites, I've used them before in my mini composition there, the na-na swells. And they're tempo synced as well, so if I turn this down here to 90, for example. Then here the airy longs for the woodwinds. Again, one of my favorite patches. Just such a fragile and beautiful sound. As kind of a general setting, I like when it's a bit of a mix, and I believe that's how I've done it in the album as well. A bit of close mic for clarity, but then, you know, being able to hear the pool house itself. Some airy swells, we've heard them before, just a couple more. Circular breathing for a bit of more movement in the texture. Meditation longs here, and of course when you start layering up these sounds, vocals with woodwinds or the solo vocals with the woodwinds, it starts to get real interesting. You can do that, for example, here with the meditation chant. Then we have some pulsing swells here in the woodwinds. Then some more subtle swells. I think I have already added a little bit of distortion here, yeah, sounds quite cool. Then let's move to the solo voiced longs. And then, for example, if you find the attack a little bit too harsh there, which I find that in this case, I'll just move it up a little bit so the singer fades in. Maybe we can add a bit more reverb. So with the attack, that's much better. For my taste, I'd probably increase the release a little bit more even. Breathy ooze, you've heard already, my favorite patch. Then some E longs, they're a bit more powerful. Meditation chant in a single voice, solo voice. As very, very useful and emotional. Longs. Wow, this just sounds so lovely. Na-na-nas. In comparison to the na-na swells of the trio, this one is a little bit more aleatoric. So if you want something tempo synced and driving, then use the na-na swells of the vocal trio. This one, I believe, is more of a texture to use. Then the double felt piano, one of my other favorite patches and kind of the heart piece of the whole album. So it's really inspiring to write with. You can give it a little bit more velocity and it's really responsive, or you can do the typical more felt piano, just very soft kind of playing. And you have controls over the key release as well and over the pedal volume, so you can make it sound as if you're right there and you hear the releases, or if the director of the project you're working on just wants a no noise piano, then you have the option to do that as well, and you can just turn everything down and it's quite a clean piano. Now, if you ask me to compare it with my previous piano of the first library, then of course I'd choose this one, the new one. I've learned a little bit more how to sample it, etc. And the sound in this is much clearer, much stronger and much richer. So if I listen down here, just a very, very warm and cozy sound. I mean, you might want to use a different piano for every kind of occasion. And I believe my older piano on my previous sample library is a little bit lighter in this range, and that might be exactly what you're after. But to me, this one is a little bit clearer and warmer at the same time. So I've used the C414s on this Petrov from I believe it's from the 60s. And it has a little bit of a dark sound. So I thought the calls would be too dark, and I've used the 414s to kind of even that out a little bit. I used two felts, so the felts that it came with, and then another felt that I kind of carefully chose and really the right thickness, etc. And then I use a taped piano as well, so I have double felts, and then I'm muting the strings with a duct tape, and it gives this really otherworldly kind of sound. So I think it's a pretty unique sound, and you can change your IR here, change the amount of reverb, again key release, add some extra delay here. On my album I have quite a lot of delay and then quite a really long echo, and I believe that kind of piano sounds really cool. Actually, if we check it here, increase the delay a little bit, maybe have a beautiful echo here all the way up. So here we're coming quite close to the sound I am using on the actual album. So the toys section, I've used the harmonica, although I don't recommend using it in a kind of a legato solo way. This is much more suited to play pads. Quite a cool sound there. Again, we can add a little bit of distortion. Caval flute longs. You've heard that kind of texture before already. Just going to play you a little bit more. Experimental longs, as you heard. Now the recorder. Some of you might not be the biggest fans of recorders, but he brought one along and actually it sounded quite nice. So again, adding a little bit of distortion here, reverb, yeah, all the way up. Again, using it as a bit of fun and maybe a different suggestion for a pad. Then a toy piano. It's a little bit in between like a Celeste and a Glockenspiel. I brought this instrument when I lived in Valencia. I didn't end up using it on the album, but I just thought I sample it in a pool house as well, and it sounds quite nice. Might be useful for something filmic. And then when you hit the pedal, sustain pedal, you get a bit of a tremolo. It's quite a nice effect. And then the percussion section, I've added a drum machine here, just some simple hits that I've sampled. I tweaked it a little bit with some EQs and stuff to my liking. I love these claves from those drum machines. Then the jawbone, as mentioned, Juan brought along this instrument, and this is this kind of scary looking skeleton, and it sounds quite cool. Some useful sound there for sound design, a traveling shaker. Then organic loops, as mentioned. One of them is a bombo leguero, and he played this really cool loops there in the pool house. Now we up the tempo a little bit. So there again, switching between the microphones. Very cool. I have to say the close mics on the percussion sounds much more impactful and clear, of course. Then some spoons. Then the synth section, let me show you a few more of those. I can play them much more arpeggiated, and again it becomes a bit more of an aleatoric thing. Quite cool. While cicada. Or played as a chord. Again, here you can add your effects, your liking, distortion, release, attack, delay, and create a little bit your own sound, or shape that sound at least. Maximum magic here. Quite hypnotic sounding there. Then The Last Sun. Or a bit more arpeggiated. Comfortable Blizzard. So as you can see, however you play it, it can become a complete different patch. And if you play with the timings and program them on the offbeats, etc., because it's all tempo synced, I believe you can get some quite interesting and perhaps also random and inspiring rhythms out of this. Colored Rain. And then again played in a chord. Very cool. Pollination Dance. Cool, that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I hope you'll get to enjoy the library as well. If you're interested, check out the album via SA Recordings. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section or get in touch with myself and I'm happy to help you out. Take care and see you on the next one. Bye bye.